We've got some bombshell news that could potentially be explosive in Trump's pending January 6th federal trial in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump just put out a post on Truth Social that says, quote, Mark Milley, who had led perhaps the most embarrassing moment in American history with his grossly incompetent implementation of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, costing many lives, leaving behind hundreds of American citizens, and handing over billions of dollars of the finest military equipment ever made, will be leaving the military next week. This will be a time for all citizens of the USA to celebrate. This guy turned out to be a woke train wreck who, if the fake news reporting is correct, was actually dealing with China to give them a heads up on the thinking of the President of the United States. This is an act so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death. A war between China and the United States could have been the result of this treasonous act to be continued. So this is Donald Trump issuing the not-so-thinly veiled suggestion that the chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff should be executed. And this is a military general who he himself appointed to that role, which, by the way, would be wall-to-wall news coverage if it was any other person who said it, or even any other world leader in another country. But putting that minuscule detail aside, let's unpack the implications of what he just posted. First of all, Mark Milley may very well be on the witness list for Trump's D.C. trial. This is a man who had direct, first-hand accounts of many key events that took place in the events leading up to and on January 6th. According to his interview with the House January 6th committee, Mark Milley said that he was highly disturbed by the assaults on the Capitol and the Constitution and took steps to preserve evidence to reassure America's allies. He also shared some anecdotes that illustrate Trump's instability. For example, Milley ordered his staff to collect and classify documents related to January 6th for future investigations, fearing that they might be destroyed or tampered with. He was also concerned that foreign adversaries would exploit the domestic turmoil and had frequent phone calls with his counterparts, including China, Russia, France, and others, to calm the situation. He also participated in a rehearsal of the Electoral Count certification and recalled that the Deputy Defense Secretary predicted a direct attack on the Capitol, while Trump's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, was spreading lies and conspiracy theories about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Milley also said that he found it odd that Trump asked the acting defense secretary if he was ready for January 6th and to, quote, protect my people during a meeting about Iran's nuclear program. Perhaps most crucially, Milley was worried that Trump would issue unlawful orders to the military, especially including overseas in Afghanistan and Somalia, and said he was prepared to resist them. Unsurprisingly, but importantly, Trump never called Milley on January 6th, nor did he call his own defense secretary or vice president, which further indicates his involvement and support for the insurrection. So it's safe to say that Milley has a lot of information to offer about Trump's actions related to January 6th. If he is listed as a potential trial witness, which, by the way, Trump would know by now because of the discovery process, then Trump will have violated his release conditions, which state that he specifically swears not to tamper with or intimidate witnesses. Quote, violating any of the foregoing conditions of release may result in the immediate issuance of a warrant for your arrest, a revocation of your release, an order of detention, a forfeiture of any bond, and a prosecution for contempt of court, and can result in imprisonment, a fine, or both. It is a crime punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, or both, to obstruct a criminal investigation, tamper with a witness, victim, or informant, retaliate or attempt to retaliate against a witness, victim, or informant, or intimidate or attempt to intimidate a witness, victim, juror, informant, or officer of the court. Again, it's not confirmed that Milley is a potential trial witness, but based on the extensive experience he had during the events leading up to that day, it would be pretty shocking if he wasn't. And let's be clear, this wouldn't be the first time that Trump is engaged in probable witness tampering in his 4 pending trials. In Georgia, for example, he directly called on a witness not to testify. Here's what former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner had to say when I asked about that, and how these various witness tampering incidents intertwine with his multiple criminal cases. You know, Trump expressly attacked Jeff Duncan, the lieutenant governor of Georgia, saying that he shouldn't testify. What impact will that move specifically have on him and his case?
Yeah, this actually matters. And what we're going to have to do for a minute is mix criminal apples and oranges, because we're going to have to talk about multiple Donald Trump criminal prosecutions. There are so many in the mix right now. But if we first look at what the judge told Donald Trump at his arraignment date, here is what she told him. She said, your most important condition of release, sir, is that you not commit a state, federal, or local crime while on release. If you were to do so, a warrant may be issued for your arrest, your conditions of release may be revoked, and you may be held pending trial in this case. So it's really important to know that even though it's a federal prosecution in Washington, D.C., he was given the expressed condition of, not violating any federal law, any state law, or any local law. And you just hit the nail right on the head, because what Donald Trump posted which is really breathtaking in its obvious criminality. He posted that he knew that the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, was going to appear before the grand jury. That's important. Why? Because prosecutors can prove he knew Duncan was going to be a witness against him. And then he said, and I quote, he shouldn't testify. If that's not witness tampering, more specifically under Georgia state law, it's called influencing a witness, and it's a 2 to 10 year felony. And what I just described, that post about somebody he knew was about to testify before the grand jury, is absolutely witness intimidation, witness tampering, influencing a witness. And if that represents a violation of Georgia state law, and I absolutely believe it does on the facts, on the evidence, that can serve as a basis to revoke him in his federal case, because, as we just discussed, the judge said, while you're on release in this federal case, your most important condition is that you not violate any federal law, any state law, or any local law. So I think Donald Trump has a world of hurt about to come crashing down on him. I think at this point, the system has to step up, has to assert the rule of law if Donald Trump, is to be deterred at all. And not only Donald Trump, but if other defendants who are on pretrial release are to be deterred.
So in a way, his multiple criminal cases all affect one another here, especially if they involve a revocation of bail. And if these state law violations in Georgia with Jeff Duncan doesn't land him in jail, then this new example of witness tampering, if Milley is in fact a potential trial witness, certainly will land him in major legal trouble, because it doesn't even require cooperation between multiple jurisdictions. It would just be a flat-out violation of the conditions of his release in the federal DC trial, no ifs, ands, or buts. And, just to add more to the many layers of criminality here, Milley is likely also a witness in the Florida trial, also being brought by Jack Smith, related to Trump's handling of classified documents. So if it's not one, it could be the other. The simple fact is that Trump is extremely exposed to a number of legal perils here, and he just can't stop digging his hole deeper and deeper. The more he posts, the more exposed he gets. So at this point, my best advice would probably be, just keep talking, Donald. Just keep talking. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.